Welcome to Conversation with Zaki Baruti, with your host, Zaki Baruti. And like always, I want to give a shout out to my biological family. What's happening? To the Universal African Peoples Organization family, what's going on? And to New Life Evangelistic Center family, headed by Reverend Rice. Keep up the great work, and a shout out to our cameraman, Bob. On that note, we'll have another great show because in studio with me, we have an author that will be explaining his book and the kinds of experiences that he have had within the prison institution and how he ended up being there and what he's doing right now to rectify his life. On that note, then, I would like to introduce to our audience Brother Michael Goodwin. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you?
All right, then. Great. First and foremost, give the name of the title of the book that you have written.
It's Sly and Sinister, Injustice Court System.
Say that again now.
Sly and Sinister.
Sly and Sinister.
Injustice Court System.
Wow, that's a powerful title. But before we get into your book, whenever I interview my guests, I always like my guests to have a little insight in terms of the background of the person I'm interviewing. Mm-hmm. So share with our listening audience a little bit about yourself, what you want people to know about you.
Okay, well, I'm from University City. I graduated from University City High in 1979. I then served 3 years in the military in the Army, Fort Hood, Texas. And after returning home from the military, I worked a few odd jobs and did some commercials. I did some Joe's Clothes commercials. I modeled for Joe's Clothes. And somehow in 1990 in the early...
Joe's Clothes back in the day.
Yeah,
right,
I modeled.
Right, over on Goodfellow and Natural Bridge.
Yeah, I did some modeling for Joe's Clothes, three commercials, 3 years on Channel 30 and 11. And in the early 1990s, of course, you know, the crack hit pretty hard. Crack cocaine hit pretty hard in the late 80s and early 90s. And somehow or another, I got into selling powder cocaine.
Wow. Well, we don't get into that. We don't want to get in that too deep. I still want to. Off air, you also shared with me that you had a close association with a person who is pretty popular around town and somewhat of an activist, Mr. Lamar.
Oh, yeah. I used to do fashion shows for Mr. Lamar.
Oh, okay. Were you a model?
Yes.
Oh, okay then.
Yes.
All right then. So you shared with us, and you just made mention in terms of getting involved in pushing powder cocaine.
Yes.
First of all, you made mention that you grew up in U City.
Yes.
U City is known basically as more or less a middle class type of community. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, and then you said you went into the service to serve the United States government.
Yes, I did.
Then you come out and you did odds and ends, and then you got into this trade.
Yes.
Okay, then. My question to you is, as a product of the high school and the background, environmental background, were both your mother and father in the homes?
Yes.
How in the world did you get into pushing?
Well, it started out, of course, experimenting with it.
Okay.
Of course, and then I wasn't able to handle it because I suffer from migraines. So and other, so I wasn't.
You still suffer from migraines?
Yes, I do. I'm on a disability for migraines at this time.
Oh, okay.
So so I wasn't able to participate in actually getting
engaged in
it.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I was able to
And wait a minute, and at that time, was it? I know cocaine has changed from just powder cocaine where people were snorting, right?
Yes.
To
people
then going into crack.
Cooking it up and turning it into crack.
Crack.
Exactly.
Okay, then. So your first experimentation was with trying to snort? Is that?
Yes.
Okay then. And you couldn't get high from that?
No, I couldn't because it wasn't for me.
Okay then. All right, go back. Okay.
Okay.
So it wasn't for you. Then how did you continue to get into the game?
Well, it began just, like I say, just dibbing and dabbing and making a few extra dollars with it. You know what I'm saying? I started bringing artists into town.
Wait a minute. So you couldn't get high. So then you decide to try to make some money from it.
Yes.
Even though you got your other positive background, so you're saying you want to hustle then to make money. All right,
Exactly.
go ahead.
And then fast forward, I ended up getting incarcerated. It was a 2-year investigation.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry, I got to keep. So how long were you in the drug business before you got indicted?
Well, it was in and out. It wasn't a continual thing. It was just in and out. You know, when you needed a few extra dollars, you would just get yourself a little bit and try to sell a little bit, you know.
Okay,
So-
then another question is, because from what my limited understanding, you have different levels of, people on the street who push it, and then you got people who bring it in. What line of distribution were you in that industry?
Well, I was indicted for bringing it in, having it brought in, and supplying it to under people underneath me.
Okay then. So you would have been considered kind of high level, low level,
Yes.
middle level? Or
High level.
High level. And then you were off air, we were talking, you were using some of that money to finance some of your projects that you were engaged in?
Well, I was got in entertainment pretty heavy, and yes, I was bringing artists into town and
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of artists were you bringing to town?
I mean R&B artists and
Such as who? Any name person?
well, I don't want to get into who I might have brought in and different things. Yeah,
All right.
I don't want to get into that.
But you were bringing in some artists.
Yeah.
And you were using.
And then I was managing local artists in St. Louis as well.
Oh, okay then. We got to take a quick break.
I thank God for Zaki Baruti and all the folks that are working with him that have stood with us all these years to get back into 1411 Locust so we can feed the hungry, shelter the homeless, reach out among those that are in need and be a beacon of hope to so many that have lost hope. Seems like all hell's broke loose in downtown St. Louis ever since they shut this building down in April 2017. I mean, they've had to put barricades on Washington Boulevard, bring out more police and everything else. Why? We can be that light. We can be that salt that Christ has called us to be if we'll pray together, work together, and do everything we can now to move forward and get into 1411 Locust. We need individuals who will help us make various repairs, people of faith that will pray with us and believe God with us for the resources that we need. We need to stand steadfast and see that the city doesn't give in to the big money interests. And there's a lot of big money interests that putting a lot of pressure for our mayor, on our mayor. You need to pray for our mayor at this particular time, that she'll stand with the poor. There's a lot of pressure on her at this time. And I want to encourage you to just seek God as to what He would have you share. You can write me, Larry Rice, at P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166. If you feel that there's someone that I need to visit or Chris Aaron needs to visit, call us at 314-421-3020 to make them part of the team at this particular moment. If you'd like to have us come speak at your church, again, you can call 314-421-3020. Ask for myself, Larry Rice, or Chris Aaron Rice. And we'll be happy to come and share this vision. What a great God we serve. And how I thank God for those of you that have been praying, those who have been standing with us throughout the years. The door of opportunity is open, so we can reopen this building and be a refuge to the hurting and the homeless and help provide them with so many things that they need at this particular time. Yes, I believe that God is a miracle-working God, and as we continue to remain steadfast, we're going to see Him do exceedingly beyond what we can even ask or think.
When we contemplate the grace and the love that we see in Jesus Christ and His sacrifice on the cross, we naturally want to generously give to others. We should generously give because we so graciously and generously receive from the love and the power of God to set ourselves free from sin. Remember, Christian, it is so important to generously give as a witness of the gospel that you yourself have received in your own life. It is important to give to churches, not just money, but your time and your resources as well, recognizing what you yourself have received, because all things, all good things that we have come from our Father above. Give generously and joyfully.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki Baruti. In the studio with me is Brother Michael Goodwin. He's the author of a book that, share again the title of the book.
Sly and Sinister, Injustice Court System.
Sly and Sinister, Injustice Court System. And we're on the other side of the break was sharing how you had got into the business of dealing with cocaine. And by the way, just for the audience, just as a reminder, at the highest level of the United States government, Ronald Reagan with the Iran-Contra scandal with Oliver North, they were dealing with bringing in cocaine. Just review that. I just want to let folks know that this is not just coming from the low levels of our government. It's all the way up at the highest level of government, which was in 1981, 82, when during his presidency.
Yes.
So going back, okay, you were indicted in what year?
In 2002.
2002.
Yeah. It was a 2-year investigation, last from 98 to 2000.
And what were you indicted for?
Conspiracy to distribute cocaine.
Okay. Did you take were you the only person that was indicted? Was there a group of other folks?
16 individuals.
16 individuals, okay. And you were part of, did anybody fight to go to court? I mean,
everyone took plea agreements.
Everybody. And you took a plea agreement?
I took a plea agreement, but it was kind of vague. I ended up, after the plea agreement, there was a pre-sentence report that was conducted by the probation department, and I ended up objecting to some things in the pre-sentence report.
Okay. In your objections, were you able to win in your objections?
I ended up winning, yes, 3 portions of the objections.
Okay then. Now, in that you pled guilty, you were then sentenced. How long was your sentence?
10 years.
10 years. Of that 10 years, how many years did you serve?
9 years and 3 months or so.
Okay, and where were you sentenced? Where did you? What institution?
It was 4 locations. I was Forest City, Arkansas, Duluth, Minnesota, and Terre Haute, Indiana, and because you could furlough transfer. A lot of this is in the book.
Okay, obviously you're a well-educated person. When you got it, I just want to get into the psychology of the impact of a sentence, like even on your family. How did that impact your family?
Well, I have 7 children, and it was pretty hard. And a lot of my kids came to visit all the time. Again, all of this is in the book, a lot of this. And it was very hard. I mean, the first year, 7 or 8 months, you realize that you are actually in this place, and of course, a lot of my time was spent at camps.
Okay.
It was not just hardcore, it was mostly camps.
So you weren't at a maximum?
Yeah, I was actually in there with some people from St. Louis, that high upper people, but I'm not going to, it's in the book though, but.
Okay, now, going to your book, the Sly and Sinister Injustice Court System. Now, you say the Sly and Sinister. Why did you choose that? I mean, why did you use that title first and foremost?
Well, because they're sly and they're sinister. I mean, on one hand, you accept your responsibility for the acts you committed. And you go to prison and you're at camps and you accept the responsibility. But when it comes time for them to accept their wrongs, they don't want to accept it. Mm-hmm. My indictment, count 7, is a 10-count indictment. I was only charged at count 7. And
wait a minute, you had 10 counts against you?
Total, not against me, just it was a total 10-count indictment. It was 16 people, and each of the individuals had different counts.
Oh, okay.
And I was only charged at count 7.
Okay, and that count was what?
That count was that I supplied 500 grams of crack cocaine to an individual who supplied it to another co-defendant who got arrested with it. I was nowhere around when this happened.
Okay.
And so that crack cocaine...
I'm sorry again. So their case was built upon the testimony of an informant.
Exactly.
Okay, then. All right.
Okay, now, why it's sly and sinister is because the crack cocaine is what I was explaining to my attorney, who I hired out of Clayton, that I hadn't supplied any crack to anyone, but because I was alleged that I supplied the guy who supplied another guy, they could have very well turned to 500 grams of powder cocaine in the crack, and the guy got arrested with it. That is something I wouldn't have known. But I was still saying I hadn't supplied the crack. Mm-hmm. So.
Okay, so you were saying you supplied the powder cocaine.
I'm saying the plea agreement had it as powder cocaine.
Right.
500 grams of powder cocaine,
Right.
which no one caught. My attorney didn't catch that, or no one caught the indictment saying crack and the plea agreement saying powder cocaine.
Okay.
So now in 2009, as I'm serving my sentence, President Obama signed the first Sentencing Act into law, reducing the crack from powder from 100 to 1 down to 18 to 1, because African Americans was receiving the highest sentences for crack, more so than Caucasians for powder cocaine or whatever. So,
and that's a great point there, because just want to point out that in terms of the sentencing guidelines, let's reemphasize that both of them from the same product.
Exactly.
Crack comes from
Powder,
but both of them of the same substance. And statistically, most of the people who were white who were sentenced
for powder
cocaine had lighter sentences
exactly
than those who were sentenced for possession
in cities and stuff for cooking it up, turning
right. So that was unfairness in the sentencing
Right.
process for this drug, cocaine.
Exactly.
Okay, then.
So President Obama signed the first Sentencing Act of 2010 into law, reducing it from 100 to 1 to 18 to 1.
Okay.
At that point, it became apparent that my indictment and my plea agreement was ambiguous. My plea agreement had powder cocaine at count 7, and my indictment had crack at count 7. So I couldn't get a 31-month reduction because of this dilemma.
So you are seeking a reduction in your sentencing
For the crack reduction. And at this point, I'm trying to get the government to acknowledge their flaw in the indictment and the plea agreement.
Okay, then. On that note, we'll have to take another break.
Behind me is the New Life Evangelistic Center administrative offices in Overland, Missouri. And this is where we shoot our shows for our worship shows and the Here's Help Network. And it's also where Zaki Baruti and Bernie Hayes shoot their shows. You can find all of these shows at the New Life Evangelistic Center app, the NLEC TV app. You can also access them on your tablet or on your computer. And this is how you can stay up to date with all the things that New Life Evangelistic Center is doing. There are so many different programs that we've got going on, and God is doing many exciting things through partners like you. So if you want to support the work that New Life is doing, then please access and give through the app. You can go online at nlecstl.org or give us a call at 314-421-3020. Again, 314-421-3020. But this is the best way to get plugged into the amazing work that New Life is doing through people like you. And so there is something for you to get involved in today. And we are so thankful for our partners. Only through the grace of God and your gift are we able to bless others today.
As we feel the darkness pressing in upon us, both personal needs and needs in the world, society as a whole, it's easy for us to get depressed. And when we're depressed and negative and feeling hopeless, we're not going to be able to help anyone. That's why I daily have to draw strength from the Word of God. That's why I have to go on walks in the midst of the wonders of God's works. And that's why I have to be able to see something that's worked for many, many years in my life, is that Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. That He's with us always, even to the end of the world. And that we can be a light, letting His love and power flow in us and through us in a cold, dark world. There are people hurting out there. There's people that are crying out to God at this particular moment in the midst of their desperation. Can we be led by the Holy Spirit to them? Can we believe God to reach out and let His love flow through us and by faith help them meet their needs? That's the challenges that the Lord gives us in His Word. Experience the joy of really helping somebody else and letting the light and love of Christ shine in you and through you.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me is Brother Michael Goodwin, who is the author of the book, The Sly and Sinister Injustice Court System. And he was bringing out some of the contradictions of his sentencing, which he felt that he should have had a reduction.
A reduction of 31 months.
Of 31 months. In that you did not get that reduction, where are you at with, or why are you still fighting the case? And is your book a reflection of you struggling against you're not receiving a reduction in
Well,
sentencing?
the Fair Sentencing Act of 2010 is a brand new law. And until I get that law applied to me, I could never stop. It's a brand new law. The government is refusing to award me the law. You see what I'm saying? Fair Sentencing Act of 2010. And the fact of the matter is, there are at least no less than 5 different judges who have all acknowledged this defective indictment and the ambiguous plea agreement. When plea agreements are ambiguous, they're always viewed in favor of the defendant because the government is the drafter of the plea agreement. So once the plea agreement was acknowledged to be ambiguous, I should have gotten the benefit of the crack reduction. Okay, but the government is trying to say that, well, I was sentenced to 15 to 50 kilos of powder cocaine. But the fact of the matter is, the 16 individuals, whether if I was supplying 15, even they never caught me with 15 to 50 kilos, it's a conspiracy. If I was supplying between 15 to 50 kilos, it was over the 2-year investigation. And the 16 individuals took that powder cocaine and converted it into crack. I reasonably foresaw this is their rules. When there are 2 or more drug types in a conspiracy, you must refer to the marijuana equivalency table in order to calculate relevant conduct, which is ghost dope. Over the 2-year investigation, they only confiscated 1.5 kilos of powder cocaine and 219 grams of crack off of the entire 16 individuals. Those 2 drug types together, using the marijuana equivalency table, equates to 15 to 50 kilos, which is what I was sentenced to.
Okay. Sentenced for.
Sentenced for.
So where are you at right now in the court system, and what are you hoping to get from your struggle? And you're speaking of that in your book.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's in the book, supported by documents. Everything that I'm saying is supported by documents, including the government conceding that the plea agreement lacks specificity, which that word I never really get right, which means the plea agreement doesn't specifically explain how my sentence was calculated when it comes to this defect between count 7 of the indictment and the plea agreement. So once the government conceded to that, it's newly discovered evidence. That concession was not made available to me in 2000 when I was sentenced. So that's newly discovered evidence. So I continue to file a writ of coram nobis over and over again, which I keep getting denied under Rule 47A. I continue to file this writ of coram nobis using newly discovered evidence, that statement by the government. So as long as this statement is made available to me, I have it in documents, it's in the book, I'm going to continue until I get the 31-month reduction.
So would you say you're close to being ruled one way or the other, or it just got to be a constant renewal of your?
Well, they continue to use Rule 47A to continue to deny me, and Rule 47A does not apply to me. So this is where I'm at. It's just round and round and round that we keep going, and it's been going on for years.
So what for you would be justice?
Well, justice for me is for them to acknowledge the government already conceded that the plea agreement lacks specificity.
Okay.
And that my indictment is defective and the entire sentence is invalid due to a defective indictment. The book does not only talk about the ins and outs of the Justice Department, it talks about how the time I spent in there, furlough transfers, what day is good day to eat hamburger or chicken day, movie night. It's a good book. It details a lot. So it's not only about it's about the court system, the prison system, what it's like being in there, and how I felt, and the ins and outs of that. So.
Okay then. So if anybody wanted to get access to the book, how would they do that? And you can explain that on the other side of the break. We got to take one more break.
These are very difficult times, and so many people are giving up. I want you to experience hope in the midst of God's cathedral of creation. And that's why I have a free book that I want to send you. It said hope can begin to flow in your life, and you'll be encouraged to go out in the middle of creation and hear the birds and the trees and all of creation speak hope to you. And I'll send this to you absolutely free of charge. All you have to do is just write me Larry Rice at P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166. Or you can call 314-421-302 and request your free copy of Experiencing Hope in God's Creation. We need hope right now. And hope is just right there, ready to fill you. You may be in a dark, dirty, lonely place at this moment. I have a whole chapter on that, how seeds are planted there and how they sprout. That and much more, right here. Just write me at P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166, and receive your free copy.
My name is Cherie. New Life actually just, for me, saved my life, and that's just me being completely honest. So for me, it's not just a name of being New Life, it is actually giving new life because I'm safe. I have a roof over my head, I have people that I'm talking to, I'm growing, I'm listening to the word more, and I'm connecting, and I love it. It's like a new energy has just come from inside of me that I didn't even know that I had.
Your prayers and gifts are absolutely critical at this time. It's P.O. Box 473, St. Louis, Missouri. That's 63166. Or go online at nlecstl.org.
Welcome back to Conversation with Zaki Baruti. In studio with me for a few more minutes is Brother Michael Goodwin, who's the author of the book, The Sly and Sinister Injustice Court System. So in the book, it has, as you just shared on before the break, a lot of information about prison institution life.
Yes.
Right, okay then. I was asking you on the other side of the break, if anybody want to get a copy of the book, how would they access it?
Well, it's on Amazon Kindle. It's $9. It's you can pull it up on the book, on your phone, Amazon Kindle. That's where it's at.
Anybody want to contact you directly, how would they get in contact with you?
You can, of course, my phone number is 314-546-1608. You can email me at mikegoodwin12660, my birthday, @gmail.com.
Now, when were you released?
2012.
2012. So are you on probation or anything
No,
like
I'm
that?
completely
You're completely done that.
done.
What would be your message to other young men out of our community about the drug business?
Stay out of it. It's not worth it. It takes away your life. Once you're incarcerated, it's just all around wrong.
Has it been difficult for you to get employment based on you being incarcerated?
No, not really. I've pretty much worked for myself most of my life. So, I mean, that privacy fence, worked on homes, and it's still in the entertainment field. So, I mean, I basically work for myself mostly.
Oh, okay. So that's...
Yeah, and then I'm on SSI, of course, for the...
Oh, yeah, for the migraine. Okay, then. So, what, as you look back, what has been the impact, as you can see, on our community through this drug business?
It's a hard impact. I mean, it just destroys lives. I mean, while I was incarcerated, my father passed, my sister passed. I mean, my kids grew up. You know, it's just all around bad. It's just all you can, right now, I don't know what's wrong with the youngsters. I mean, they're shooting each other everywhere. I mean, I don't know if drugs even really playing a part in that.
Well, that's a whole nother subject because, I believe, in my humble opinion, I think it's a reflection of several factors. One, there's no spirituality in many homes. You don't have father present. You have poor educational system. Yeah. You got this, I call it crazy music that advocate disrespect us women, sisters, and advocating violence. So we have a whole lot of stuff that we got to deal with. We only got about 10 seconds. Are you involved in the community to try to uplift the community?
Yes, I am. I actually, I'm in the park with the softball teams.
Good.
I have my brother-in-law's father is a coach, and I get involved with the softball.
Helping the youth. Okay, prayerfully, you can keep anybody from going on the wrong path.
Oh,
on that note, thank you for being here. To the audience, like always, I say that everybody needs to be involved. You need to make sure you vote at every election. You need to join organizations that speaks truth to power. We say join the Universal African Peoples Organization. On that note, may God bless each and every one of you. And again, thank you, sir.